Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today, for our bonus episode 3 to be exact, we are covering a creature feature that many people would be familiar with called Tremors. Yay!
Yes! The 1990 movie Tremors, the original.
Yes.
The first in the series of 6.
Yeah. It was my first time.
Why they're still coming out with it is beyond me.
But it was my first time seeing the movie, but I know Jess grew up with it. So, but first, before we keep going, let's talk about what tea we're drinking. I am drinking the Tazo Passion Tea, and I specifically chose my Totoro cup. Oh my god, I love this cup. I've had it for years, and yeah, I love Totoro.
Look at you getting all fancy.
What about
Meanwhile, I had it was a day. So I have black tea, Bigelow black tea, and I spiked it with some peach whiskey. So, cheers, guys.
All right.
It got real good real fast.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Oh, yes.
So, to start the summary of the movie, it kind of focuses on these two guys that they call themselves handymen, and they just are going around town doing little odd jobs because they really need the money and they don't really have a substantial form of income besides that. And it's kind of interesting because they just see a character on, what would you call that, a power tower or an electrical tower?
Yeah, it was an electrical tower.
Thank you. And they...
Power lines.
Power tower. But anyways, I like that word now. Power tower. But anyways.
Moving along.
So they find that the guy is dead. And the reason why I'm mentioning that specifically is it's a caveat for what's to come, because they find out that the guy died of dehydration. And so they were like, oh, he's been up there 3 to 4 days at least. Like, what the hell? Well,
he was also the town drunk.
Yes. So come to find out, there are, well, I guess 4 worm-like creatures underground that whenever they spring up, they have these little tentacle things that are also like little wormies. And then they grab your leg and drag you in. And they get blowed up, and then movie over.
Okay. So they're in an area in this valley that is geographically isolated. They've got mountains on a couple of sides and cliffs on another side, so they've really only got one entrance and exit that they use on a regular basis to come and go to that valley. So the things have come into the valley from that area, and they're like having a buffet as they make their way to the center of town. And they do hunt by vibrations.
Yes.
And on their path, their buffet, as they're eating, a couple of people, the road gets taken out. They were eating the construction workers, and at some point there was a rock slide, and it took out the road. So they couldn't drive through that area anymore. So
and their phones are out, too.
Yes. Well, the phones can't get a signal out past like the mountains and things. So they use a lot of radios in that area to talk with each other kind of in that valley. But to get a signal out, they have to like cross out of the valley, like into the mountain area and over it, basically, to get to the next town over and get a call out. So most of the movie is them trying to figure out how the hell they're going to get out of this valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I still can't believe you've never seen this movie.
I am sure there are people out there that are just like me. Actually, I should have asked Steven if he'd seen that movie. But oh well.
Chris loves it. He says the second one is better. I like the first one, but, you know.
But anyways, moving on to the entertainment scale. Since I probably won't have as much to say as you, this is a pretty solid 7 for me. It's not a movie that, it's not like Jaws, to where, at least for me personally, that I would go back to watch over and over and over again. But it was a really good movie, and I would watch it again. The storyline was pretty solid. I wish they had expanded on what exactly the creatures were, or why suddenly they were there, which you said that they expanded on in later sequels, but I'm just focusing on the first movie. Yeah. And the only thing that was kind of not frustrating, annoying, a little tick in the back of my head is the stereotypes, the very shallow stereotypical characters. But I mean, honestly, for those types of movies, it's extremely typical. And so that's why I gave it a 7. I'm not going to fault it for that. There were a few things that you wouldn't see today, like the main character, Kevin Bacon, was extremely focused on, like, I like this woman. And so he's driving towards this girl and he's like, blonde hair, blue eyes, boobs from heaven, or whatever the phrase was. And I'm just like, wow, like nowadays that would like not be. I mean, he ended up, he started off like that, but then he ended up morphing. So he redeemed himself. And
he definitely had a type in the beginning.
Yeah, so like it's not quite Cabin Fever level of, oh my god, this is like they really had really shallow characters or whatever, but it's probably because the movie overall was pretty solid, and the type of characters that they made them work together and build a relationship. I don't know. Well, and then also the fact that they had him get a love interest. I'm like, you don't have to have a love interest every single movie. But anyways, that's just me. But anyways, I'm done.
If I hadn't seen it, I probably would have given it a 7. I give it an 8 though, just for nostalgia's sake.
I knew you would. I knew it.
I love this movie. It is listed as a comedy horror, so it is more of a spoof kind of movie. They do kind of make fun of it a little bit. There's a lot of comedy elements. Mm-hmm. They don't take it that seriously. And I mean, you can't really take this kind of creature seriously anyway. It has snake tongues. I mean, come on. They started calling one of them Stumpy because one of the tongue things got ripped off. And he keeps coming back throughout the movie, and you just see this one that's kind of flopping around. So they call it Stumpy. But it is a pretty solid story for the most part. They really honestly could have left it at just 1, but they went further. And yeah, I don't know. I just really love how funny it is. They do some character building. Others they don't really delve that deep into. They're truly side characters and mostly, creature fodder. So those people they don't usually go that deep into. But the main ones I mean, you get a little bit of growth there, and you can see the different relationships between them and all. And it is a tight-knit community because there's like 10 of them, 10 to 15 of them
Yeah.
in the valley total. So you're gonna be closer. So it was interesting to see that and how they banded together to try to get out of the situation together and try to keep as many of them as alive as possible.
Yeah.
So
Like, the setup for a movie is pretty solid. Like, the fact that they made them isolated and already a very tight-knit community, it made sense that they would easily be able to band together and figure out a way to get past it.
even while sniping at each other,
Yeah.
just jabbing at each other.
I love the bickering, especially between the two main characters. Like, it
They
definitely...
were almost like brothers. Like they acted like brother.
Yeah, like the dialogue in this movie, I mean, it is southern, and redneck, but it was the characters, even though there's a few parts about the characters that I didn't like, it, like, the guy being shallow, be like, I want, when this, whatever, you do you.
Not better.
But
And the other was griping at him for it, so he helped.
yeah, like it wasn't, and the fact that they didn't really focus on that particular aspect of him, and he wasn't, the fact that he changed his mind afterward, he redeemed himself for me. Yeah, but all of the characters were really, really interesting, and they had their own personalities, like the Doomsday Preppers, and like I said, very shallow and stereotypical, but so whenever you know what type of character they are, it just kind of like slaps you in the face. Like the person that jokes around and is kind of the stupid character, he jokes around a lot, and like nobody trusts him. Like they don't even trust him with a gun.
He was the stereotypical stupid boy teenager, like the idiot.
And he said
guy,
dude a lot.
And he's really just bored. You can tell. I mean, there's nothing to do there. Again, there's like 10 to 15 people max in the valley. There's nothing to do there.
Yeah.
Most of the homes are trailers. Like, there's nothing out there. There's dirt and rocks.
Yeah, but the movie overall, the characters are lovable overall.
Yeah.
And
I was a little sad when Walter got eaten.
Oh.
The guy that plays Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
I was a little sad. He was a fun character. He was very enterprising, and I guess he would kind of have to be living out there with no business whatsoever. Basically, he had the only store in the area.
Yeah.
But when the handymen roll through with, a tentacle attached to their truck, he buys it off them for $15 and then starts charging all of the townspeople. I want to say it's like $3 a pop for a picture with the thing. So, I mean, he made his money back pretty quick.
Yeah, and I'm so, at least from what I could see, I couldn't obviously tell that they made a very stereotypical Asian character, which was refreshing, because especially like 90s movies and before, I mean, some nowadays too, they have a very stereotypical Asian character where they have like a really strong accent and there are all of the stereotypes. I mean, he had a little bit of an accent, but from what I could tell, it seemed natural rather than him, being told to have an accent. I could be wrong, and if
it was barely noticeable.
Yeah. Oh.
But he was a bit more Americanized.
Yes, it's like,
for sure.
Stop with the stupid minority stereotypes.
Yes. So, this movie, it's great. It's hilarious and it's great.
Shall we move on to the realism scale?
Yes, because it's going to be very low no matter what.
Honestly, I'm going to rate it like a 5. And the reason being is I think the characters reacted pretty realistically, and they were very logical and for the most part pretty smart about it. What?
Not all of them were logical. Case in point, Nestor. The one who jumped onto a tire when they told him to get up off the ground.
Well, he died. The people that lived made good choices and were smart, and so they deserve to live. But the inconsistency I was arguing with Jess about this is they made it extremely clear that the creatures could only go through dirt. And once they hit something solid like granite or some sort of solid rock material, that the creature died. And they proved this theory whenever, or in the movie in general, whenever one of the creatures tried to burst through like the storm shelter wall and the creature killed itself. But
the storm drain.
Storm drain, thank you.
Not the shelter. He busted through the shelter just fine.
Well, yeah, okay, that's where I'm going. The storm shelter he burst through when it's cinder blocks. I mean, I know they're hollow on the inside, but still made out of cement. And if it's supposed to be, I mean, those characters mentioned that they had a bomb shelter, and I highly doubt that was a bomb shelter because it had windows, and that would be really dumb. But that was literally the only shelter that they were showing. So if that was the case, they would have poured cement in between those cinder blocks, and then it would have been, I don't know. It was a little bit inconsistent, I feel like.
Now that I think about it, he did say broke into the wrong rec room. So that might not have been their actual shelter, but it was still underground. Mostly. At least that part of it was mostly underground.
Yeah.
But still, they were a little bit inconsistent. I know their hide was super, super strong because he was firing at it with like an elephant gun. These shells were huge. And it was still not doing that much damage, especially firing into the dirt. And yes, I know dirt is a very good stop trap for bullets, but it was fairly near the surface. I feel like an elephant gun with that caliber bullet would have at least done something.
Yeah.
It was not. So a little bit inconsistent, and you did bring up a good point when they were pole vaulting. Like, they would attack pretty much anything that caused a vibration. If it was on the ground, they were going for it. They would go for things that they wouldn't really even eat. Like, they went after a shovel. They went after a pogo stick.
And rocks. Whenever they're
and a generator.
Yeah.
So, even with as little vibration as it still was, I feel like they still would have at least jarred it or investigated or something.
Yeah, it just seems so out of place because they tested them with the shovel, and then pogo sticks, nothing happened. And then later in the movie, they throw rocks, and then the creature is attracted. So it's like, why? Maybe because it only hit the ground once and it wasn't enough of, I don't know. But that was a little bit.
Like, it stayed there. That's why I was saying, like, it's a smaller vibration, I guess. Because it hits there and stays. But that's still movement. I don't know. It was a little bit inconsistent there. So I get you there. Honestly, I would probably give it, like, a 4. Mainly because in that movie, they didn't really say why that particular valley attracted them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, because they made it clear that they were coming into the valley. But why into that valley? I feel like with as few people and as spread out as they were, even with some livestock here and there, I feel like it wouldn't have been as big of a dinner bell as some other places. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But most of their reactions were good. And you're right, a lot of the characters did have some smart choices and things that they did. The girl with the pole vaulting, and later when she kicked the pipe on the water tower to have the water dropping and making vibrations on the ground to call it away from another guy.
Mm-hmm.
And them running the tractor, or not tractor, yeah, it was a tractor.
Yeah.
That they ran to go as a distraction. And then using the bulldozer to pull the trailer around.
Mm-hmm.
Because it might be slow, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I guess the only thing that bugged me too is the main girl character or woman. I forgot what her name was, but
Rhonda.
thank you. They specified in the beginning she was in school, I guess getting her PhD maybe. But that
she's a grad student.
Yeah, she was a seismologist. A seismologist. Well, then later in the movie, she's like, there's no fossil records of any creature like this. And then
predates all fossil records. There's nothing. This thing is unprecedented.
And then even later, she said something else. I forgot exactly what it was, but it's another thing that I'm like, you're not a zoologist. Why would you know this information? It's like taking biology once doesn't make you a freaking expert. You're in school for seismology. Like, I don't understand.
That's definitely a different branch.
Yeah, it's like just because you're a scientist doesn't mean that you know you're an expert in literally everything. Yeah.
Completely different field.
So that was a little fishy. So maybe I'll knock it down to a 4 because of that.
I mean, it's not very accurate. Just look at the monster, but it's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can say that about probably 90% of most of the horror movies that we enjoyed.
Yeah, but this one in particular
aren't accurate, but they're fun.
Yeah. But this one in particular, I didn't really find myself too frustrated with the decisions that they were making. I mean, the dumb characters that died, I was like, really? But, I mean...
I think it helps that the creatures were fairly intelligent.
Some of the deaths were interesting. Like, the wife in the beginning, when they lifted her car up and then broke through the back, I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant.
Yeah, like the pressure of the ground and everything on the car as they're dragging the car down into the ground, it busts the windows. And they're able to rip her out of the car. I mean, they don't show it. It's 1990. But you know she did. And that was kind of cool. Also, some of the creature deaths were interesting and fun.
Yeah.
They were very explodey. But, like, when the creatures figured out that certain things weren't what they want, and how they, like, spit them.
I like it.
This is not what I want. This is not food. Give me food. And it, like, would spit a pogo stick or a generator. Or it spit the bomb, the last one that they were trying to kill. Spit out the bomb. And it landed on the other bombs.
Yeah, that's a pretty tense moment for me. I was like,
job. They had one bomb left after that, so he had to get a little creative because obviously this thing was learning. They learned from their mistakes, and if they knew that one of their relatives died in a horrible way, then they would not do the thing.
Yep.
So, I wonder how they communicate, though, with each other.
Or if they even communicate, because some creatures just kind of do their own thing, and if they run into another one of their kind, then they just fight, unless if it's...
Well, these clearly weren't fighting, though. They were coexisting.
Well, yeah.
So...
Oh, I don't know.
It was kind of cool, though. And they did learn if one of their herd pack.
Maybe pack, since they are predatory.
Something.
Herd, I feel like it's more for, domestic
Herbivores.
or herbivores.
Yeah. I guess. So if one of their pack died, or group, pod, whatever, died,
Murder.
then they're not crows. If one of them died, the others would not do. They would be a lot more cautious about whatever it was that killed the other one. So with the bomb, like, it took it because there was a vibration there and it investigated, but then it immediately spit it back up. So it's like, nah, you can have this back. So that was kind of cool, I thought.
Yeah, a very fun movie. If anyone who's listening hasn't seen Tremors yet, you should. It's worth the watch. It's a fun movie.
It's fun. It's really not like that gory or anything.
There's a few gross parts. But...
I mean, they show a couple of things, but
it's creature gore.
It's not that bad. Like, there were some
I guess
sheep.
brain.
I mean, there was some sheep that had, bites in it here and there, and the head of that one guy, the farmer, that was in the ground covered by the hat.
See, I think that one, yeah, I actually kind of screamed at that.
I don't know why they didn't eat him whole. Or the sheep, for that matter. They were eating everyone else whole.
Well, the construction worker, you get to see his remains.
Well, I feel like part of that was from the rock slide.
Well, I'm not saying it was a creature, but you were saying how it's not that gory, and so I was like, oh, well, here's an example of gore. But overall...
It was minor.
I think it's definitely a PG rated movie and a pretty fun movie for, like, older kids.
It's technically rated PG-13. It's rated PG-13.
Probably because of the cursing.
Probably. Honestly, a lot of it is most likely because they do have some cursing.
Yeah, it does have...
Still a little minor. It's not the level of today. There was a couple of scenes here and there, but it's not near the level of today.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
But
it's fun.
Yep, so we have the consecutive a group decision that it is worth watching at least once if you haven't. And
this one's not going to give you nightmares, really. It's not a super scary movie, guys.
No.
This is mild.
It's going to have maybe one or two, moments. But I also jump extremely easily.
You do.
So you could sneeze at just the right moment and I'll be like, ah!
It's been proven, guys. You can stand around a corner and wait for her to walk over. It's a thing.
Well, I don't have anything.
We love you.
I know. I don't have anything else to add. How about you?
Nope. This is a real fun movie. Like, I feel like kids could watch it. I would watch it before then, just because I know everyone's different with the level of, cursing and all. They do not say the F word at all. So, I don't know where y'all's comfort levels are, but that one's not in there. But I watched it as a kid growing up. I loved the hell out of this movie. I laughed every time. It was fun. So, I mean, take that as you will.
Demented child.
Otherwise, join us next time for the next podcast. We're going to continue with our Asian Horror Month. And we will have another bonus episode as well for those of you that want something a little different. That's perfectly fine. We'll have this in a couple of weeks. But until then, stay safe and stay spoopy, guys.
Bye.
Bye.